Hi, my name is Starr, and sitting beside me is my co-host, Bob Bylsma. And we're two guys that seek to explore and understand the culture and enjoyment of all things cigars. And a lot of what we want to speak about today is one topic that's been a conversation that we've both had for quite some time, Bob, and that's why do we smoke cigars? And Bob, why is it that you smoke cigars?
You know, I started smoking cigars, Louis, primarily just for relaxation. I'd sit out on my balcony at my home and kind of started on the weekends and sort of built from there. But it was purely about relaxation and just taking some time. You know, you smoke a cigar and it's not really like a quick date. And it's not like marriage, but there's some commitment to it, right? And so it's really committing to that time of relaxation. That's how I started. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much just a curiosity. I remember back when my dad used to smoke cigars, and I always wondered what was the mystique behind him having a cigar. And so as I got older and able to smoke, I finally tried one. Did not know what I was doing. Didn't know anything about cutting it. I remember seeing a lot of movies where there were Western stars that I used to watch that would bite off the tip of the cigar. I didn't know anything about how you had to cut it. And then I used a book of matches to light it, and again, bad move, right? Just lit the cigar, started smoking, and some smoke went down into my lungs, and oh, it was the worst experience. But, you know, as I've grown in my cigar smoking, I've learned, just like you, that it was relaxing, it was very enjoyable, and through the years I've met a lot of wonderful people. We became friends behind smoking a cigar and some other things, but just being able to do this by yourself and enjoy it, or do it with others and sit around and have great conversation, and sometimes just have a nice, relaxing, and enjoyable time.
You know what I love? One thing I love about it, Louis, is the fact that it's easy. That years ago I smoked a pipe, and I smoked occasional cigars, but I leaned towards the pipe.
Okay.
When I started up again, I found that the pipe was way too much work.
Yes.
You simply don't puff on these all the time.
Right.
And that made a huge difference to me. It made a difference to me that it wasn't addictive. It's not physically addictive.
No.
You can get compulsive about them, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me was a big factor in it. And over time, you start smoking more cigars. You're making more trips to a brick and mortar shop.
Right.
And then one day you sit down in a lounge.
Yeah.
And that was really a turning point in my cigar smoking for me, because of the relationships I built with you and with others around cigars and around relaxing with cigars, good conversation.
Yeah, it truly is not as addictive. If I could speak English today, Bob. It's not addictive. Yes, I agree with you in terms of it's not like smoking cigarettes. Cigarette smoking is built around the addiction. Cigar smoking, the addiction there is how much you spend.
Yes.
You know,
I like to think of myself as a collector,
yeah,
as opposed to an addict.
yeah. You spend quite a lot of money buying cigars, but that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself when you start looking at the different types of cigars that you may venture into, and we have a lot of conversation that's still in store for the viewer to talk about the different types of cigars that are in the market today and what you should add to your collection. Mm-hmm. And as you develop your palate, what you like, what you don't like.
I think one story I shared with you about are cigars addictive?
Yeah.
Is, you know, I recently, a few months ago, before the coronavirus took over, went on a vacation, and I'd been smoking, I don't know, 3 to 4 cigars a day before that. Went on a 13-day vacation. I smoked one cigar, and the only reason I smoked that one was because I wanted to go to the Davidoff Lounge in Tampa. So yeah, not physically addictive at all, but a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Well, you know, and a different opinion about that, it can become sort of a routine. There are times where I'll wake up do what I have to do to get ready for the day and start that day with a cigar and a cup of coffee. And if I feel like at some point during the middle of the day, have a cigar after lunch. And then again, another cigar just after dinner. So it does vary, but does not become habitual to the point it's an addiction.
You develop habits around it, routines around it, but
Right.
there's not a physical addiction to it. When I don't smoke for an extended period of time, I never feel anything from it.
Right.
How did we end up here? Why are we doing this?
Well,
though?
the thing is, for me, there was a point of my life where I was smoking cigars, but I didn't know enough. And what I mean by that is, what's the tobacco? How do they grow? How do they process it, mature it, and all of that other stuff? All I knew was I was picking up a cigar that I liked, and a lot of it was based on what I visually saw that was appealing to me. But one of the reasons why we do this is because we needed to know a little bit more about what it is that we're smoking. And I would agree, we've had that conversation, extensively, and it's like, what is this attraction to this cigar that we smoke? And we started digging deeper into learning and understanding the types of tobacco from the plant itself. How do they choose the different leaves for the filler, the binder, the wrapper? What's the aging and fermentation process? All of this good stuff, regionally. There's cigar tobacco that comes from all over the world, pretty much on, the other side of the globe from us. But there's only two, that I recall anyway, two wrapper plants that are grown here in the United States, and I believe one is Connecticut, and there's Florida. And
The Florida sun-grown.
The Florida sun-grown. And so many people probably aren't as anal as we've been with our discussion on this, but I'd like to know a little bit more about what it is that I'm smoking.
We are anal about our discussion on some of this. And I think I started out the same way. Really, particularly as I started smoking more complex cigars.
Yeah.
I became fascinated by the tobacco and all aspects of it, from when do you plant?
Right.
How long does it take?
Right.
What part of the plant is getting used for what?
Right.
And everything from that up through the actual distribution of the cigars. And I think, as we've talked, all it does is raise more questions.
Yeah.
Right? And I think one of the things that doing this does for us is it sort of focuses some of that curiosity.
Right.
And at the same time, it gives us information we can share with others who may be less experienced.
Yeah.
Or maybe experienced cigar smokers but are curious about things but really don't want to spend hours like I did the other night on something we were talking about, trying to find an answer to a really obscure question.
Yeah, exactly. And how many people, personally, it took me years to get to this discussion point. 20 years ago, I didn't concern myself with all that we've talked about. But now, being at 40 years in of smoking a cigar, I want to know. And there are a lot of folks that I would imagine that are like that. They just know there's a particular size, shape, and type of cigar, as well as brand, that they smoke, and that's what they know. But do they really do the deep dive to figure out more about the whole process and all that goes into making that cigar that they smoke? Most don't. But I'm happy to do that, and I believe we can share a lot of that information with folks where they don't have to read a certain publication, but they can look at this and view it and say, these guys are touching on things that I'm interested in. Maybe I wasn't interested before, but now that they've brought this up as a conversation, this is something I can learn a little bit, something more about, and understand why I truly do enjoy smoking a cigar, and maybe enjoy it more.
I think the other thing that we've done is really compare smoking notes.
Yes.
And I think that can be helpful too. I think it's helpful to me because it enhances my enjoyment of the cigar.
Yeah.
To really appreciate the complexity of it, the complexity of the different tobaccos and what they add to it.
Right.
But you and I have overlapping but not identical palates.
Which is good.
And so I think we bring two different perspectives
Right.
to the reviews that we've worked on together.
Yeah, no, it's good. You know, it's like reading stuff about cigars and the whole flavor profile and what they suggest you should experience while smoking a cigar. I realized in looking at that and then smoking it that we are going to have what you and I have. Two different aspects of what we got out of that cigar itself. We can smoke the same cigar and have two different takes on it. And that, for anybody that's smoking, I test you to understand that this is what you're going to get when you smoke a cigar. It's what you get from it and not what the writer of that particular review is telling you should get from it. It's going to vary, and if you spend time smoking a cigar looking for searching deep to see if you get those flavor notes and all this other stuff that's detailed in the reviews, you're going to miss out on just sitting back and smoking and enjoying the cigar.
Which is really what it's all about.
That's what it's about. Well, folks, we truly hope that you got something of use out of what we just talked about, because there's a lot more to do, but we're just touching the surface on this right now, because this is why we smoke and enjoy cigars. We're digging deep into the culture and understanding the whole enjoyment behind this right here, smoking a cigar. And if you like what we've just talked about, I want you to subscribe to our page, give us a like. We got more coming your way. And this is, again, my name is Starr. This is Bob Bylsma, and we're just two guys sitting here smoking and enjoying cigars.